Onward is the latest Pixar film directed by Dan Scanlon and stars quite a good cast. You got Tom Holland, Chris Pratt, Julie Louis-Dreyfus, Octavia Spencer, and among others. And this is the latest Pixar film from Disney Pixar. And in this film, it's set in a suburban fantasy world that follows basically where these mythical creatures are in a long time ago, the mythical creatures that are in like these different fantasy world, who, as you see in like fairy tale worlds and stuff, how you have like pixies, elves, and all that. They basically, the times have changed since the original days, and they've adapted into pretty much a modern sort of suburban human style lifestyle. And in this story, we deal with
they they went from like evolved from like how we evolved from like however you see it, cavemen, and evolved into the society we live now. It's basically a telling of that.
Yeah, and in this story, we deal with two brothers, two elf brothers, Ian, played by Tom Holland, and his brother, played by Chris Pratt, Barley, who are setting out on looking for this magical quest as they discover that there's this ruby, this rare. They discover that there's a way to pretty much bring to resurrect their father, and because not to go into too much detail, but there's a back history involving with their father who they tragically passed away, and it basically becomes a combination of brother bonding and an adventure with them having to come across shenanigans and having to go on this mythical quest to bring their father back. And along the way, they start to really bond with each other since they come from polar opposites.
Yep.
Now, here's a little backstory. Now, if you've been following our channel, we've discussed in our Toy Story review that the Pixar movies, to me, I always feel like they're always the go-to as far as like kids movies to me. Now, I haven't seen all their films, but I've seen a majority of them to a point that I really feel like they create such like not only great worlds, but also just really good, entertaining films that are not only good for kids, but also for anyone really in general. And while besides the Toy Story films, I've enjoyed a lot of their more like original type movies they've done lately, including the Finding Nemo, Finding Dory, Coco, among others. And there's been a lot of ones that I haven't seen, like Up and the Inside Out and all them. But for the most part, I'm always still keen on watching a lot of their movies that they're into.
The ones I haven't seen were Coco and Inside Out. I seen Up, and this is also the first time since I think Coco, because there was actually a hiatus that Pixar went on where they stopped the original ideas. I believe it was since Coco. They went on continuing on their series, their franchises, like with Toy Story. Then we had the Finding Dory, the sequel to Finding Nemo. So they start going on sequels more than anything else for just a little bit. And I seen Up. Up is really good. You're really missing out. Probably still holds as one of the most emotional stories ever told in their series. So it's a really good one, man. You need to watch it.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of great things about it. I do want to eventually check it out someday. But what got me interested in this film coming out was I wasn't really like hyped. Like my expectations from the trailer weren't like incredibly high because I just figured that since Pixar pretty much brought us Toy Story 4 last year and they've been on a trend of bringing back sequels, my my expectations going in were a little like not like as open or sorry, not as hyped as I should be because they were going with a more different routes, but it still looked interesting. Like I was still keen on what they were going to do with this whole like brotherly journey thing, and them being in this whole fantasy world, so to speak. So the trailers, while they weren't hyped for it, they still got me interested. But unfortunately, this is one of those things where this was one of the last films that came out in theaters, and we couldn't get to see it due to other things going on. And I finally got a chance to watch it when it came out on Disney Plus.
Yeah, same here.
But anyway, after upon seeing the film, I can honestly say I actually quite really enjoyed it. I actually thought it was very charming. It was very heartwarming, and it was about what I expected what Pixar would do.
Exactly. Pixar is like when it comes to them, out of all these other studios, I just feel like they can continue on making these original ideas. And I missed some really good ones I heard that were really great, like Coco and Inside Out. But yeah, upon seeing this movie, like you were saying earlier, you were stating that, we missed this in theaters and stuff. One of the things that hurt us for seeing this movie, well, for one, we got kind of busy when it first came out, and for two, it got into the point where we started having the coronavirus thing going wild, and our fucking theaters closed real fucking quick when that started. So we couldn't play catch up on that. And upon seeing this movie, I mean, I'll say I was not as hyped either. Like you say, it's kind of hard to, I don't know if you want to call it fanboyish, but when you start thinking of Toy Story and some of the other ones, you feel like they can't be topped. So you start thinking there's a lot of leap, because Toy Story really is the only one that I ever am hyped when it comes to Pixar. There are other stuff, I'll watch them. But yeah, upon seeing this movie, I will say that it was really, really good. This was a very, very heartwarming, bonding teaching of selflessness. And that's what it does. It teaches you selflessness with like the brother bondings, that they come from polar opposites, shows their bonding, which worked really, really well. Also enjoyed the like I said, the teachings of the selflessness, showing you like, making sacrifices for one another, and they show that throughout this film, which I felt like was a good, strong, probably one of the best advantages in this movie, because it showed how bonding like that, just sacrificing stuff, not thinking selfishly about yourself. So I thought that was really good. But yeah, those were some of my pros. I will say that another pro I had was the casting was fantastic in this film. Tom Holland, Chris Pratt, everybody gets a thumbs up from me. So
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. Like you were saying, with the world that they set up with this is not only fascinating with the whole like mythical creatures they do, but also the whole like the message about how it's being about selflessness. It teaches a great message about being able to it deals with themes of trust and being able to like do the whole brotherly bond thing, and it works in such a great way to where even though they come from polar opposites, they still are both in on like going on this journey. And I really love this whole like I really enjoyed this whole like quest that they go on, because it shows how much that they're really trying to gain, because they not only have to bond with each other, but we also start to learn like some other like old the old days when the mythical creatures were around and stuff. And it sets up a lot of great ideas that while they've been explored a little better, that's why I get to a little later on. I will say that like it really just shows how much that these brothers go through in order to get to where they're going. It's very motivating,
yeah,
to speak.
the world that they build in this movie, it's really neat looking. The animation is just downright just beautiful, and they never cease to amaze me. Pixar only gets better with year, and that's another praise I gotta give it. I love the world, how like they kind of did with Zootopia, which Zootopia was something else, but Zootopia did something. I believe that was what, DreamWorks.
No, that was
Zootopia.
Disney, but it was just regular Disney.
Yeah, regular Disney. But I liked how in Zootopia, how they take something and then they kind of bring it to our world. So you start seeing cities, they're driving cars, working like us,
Yeah.
just acting human-like. And they did that with this one, which was really, really neat. But like you said, there was a lot. This movie really relies on heavy messages, and I really enjoyed what they were trying to do with this, with the whole message. You can really teach a kid something very good while watching this.
Yeah.
It will teach a young kid about a lot of things he can learn in life, and that's why I really appreciate about this. I will say that the journey they go on, like he said, without trying to spoil too much, the father did tragically pass. So we're not going to go in detail on that, but they have an opportunity to bring him back, but only see him for one day and a whole day. So it's kind of like a beat time type of situation, and they get into a lot of dilemmas, which was really good and funny at some parts, and they
Yeah.
actually pay homage to some funny other tropes from movies. And one of them, I will admit, it reminded me from Pee Wee Herman with the whole the motorcycle thing, which was
Yeah.
fucking hilarious. So they do shit like that that is really funny. The humor was not as heavy as I thought it was going to be, but it was still there. I mean, it was paying more attention to its story, which I appreciate better than being overshot with humor. But there was some humor in it that worked. But the whole like journey with the dad thing, you got to thank these kids, these two who we follow, Chris Pratt and Tom Holland's character. They didn't get Tom Holland's character wasn't even born, I believe, when the dad passed
He
away.
wasn't.
I can't remember.
He
Yeah,
wasn't.
but the old was, which is Chris Pratt, and he always wanted to see what his father was like and stuff. So that whole journey to get to that point, there are some pretty intense parts for such a cartoonish type movie. Thinking, oh my god, he's gonna fail and shit like that. So the intensity on something like this was kind of surprising for me. So I enjoyed that as well.
Yeah, I enjoyed that too. I thought that it really peaked on its emotional, weight to it, especially with, them having to like really, because part of the whole like theme surrounding, part of the whole goal for Tom Holland's character is that basically since he's trying to like get his father like back to resurrect him for one day, within one day and everything, he makes a list of all the things that he wanted to do with his father, and that becomes a great theme later on because not going to spoil anything, but it's you kind of get the idea of where it's going as the film goes along, and it really shows like how much like this movie really makes the deal about a family bonding and trust with each other. And in addition to that, what I also appreciated too was the fact that the movie the movie also has some, like you were saying, some neat little funny homages just to stuff that I didn't think they would get away with. Like we not only see with a homage to Pee Wee's Big Adventure with the whole motorcycles going down, and also that itself is funny because you have there's a little part with these little pixies that are running around, and there's a part where Chris Pratt gets like little mini size. He's like, I'm your worst nightmare or something like that, and it's funny. But then there was actually a reference that I couldn't believe that they actually got away with, and it was a part, not going to spoil anything, but let's just say that it's something right out of Thelma and Louise, and I was like, wow, they put that in a kids movie? That's weird.
Disney owns Pixar. Disney shook everybody's head when Zootopia was one big storyline of Breaking Bad. So I wasn't surprised at that. Ain't the most gutsiest thing they've ever done. I mean, like I said, look at Zootopia and the Breaking Bad story.
True. You got a point.
Anyway, this is really good. From beginning to end, and I will say that towards the end, it really got pretty fucking emotional.
It did.
It was a pretty sad. It also it's sad, but like I get its message at the same time, and but anyways, not to go into too much detail on it. Getting my cons, like you said, so you were trying to say earlier, and I do get what you were saying because it is one of my problems. They don't really explore their whole mythical past and how they, can start learning their whole mythical. Now they did good on the whole, where the kid, the other brother is trying to learn because he's got something in him, and don't really go into explanation, but he has that magical touch from his ancestors where he can actually do it, while the other brother, who is obsessed with it, can't really do it. So there's not explanation in those little parts, but other than that, I mean, really, it's a con that I can actually overlook because I enjoyed this movie so much.
Yeah, it's something I can definitely see a con that I can overlook at points too. It would have been more interesting to have them kind of like build upon some other things to help us see like more how this world adapts. Now, one of my other biggest problems I would say is that The movie does. I did notice that it does kind of have some like derivative areas that we've kind of seen in other Pixar films and in other kids movies as well. With the whole those whole cliches about having to go on this journey to get somewhere. You know how it turns out. It's very bare basics. But also what I also noticed was that the film in a way kind of uses a similar not really similar, but I mean kind of similar plot line with the whole with Coco, because you remember in Coco, I mean, I know you probably haven't seen it, but there was a plot point in that where it had to basically deal with our main character. He had to get something done before sun or within 24 hours, and the timing of how they deals with both movies, it's very like derivative of each other. So I was looking at it like, wait, I've seen this before. Only it was just kind of done in a different type of manner, so to speak.
A live action movie, we would probably criticize that. But Pixar, a lot of people don't realize, and somehow they managed to make the movies. And you would be surprised how every movie almost carbon copies each other since
Yeah,
the beginning of Toy Story 1. I mean, Pixar has been very brilliant at using almost the same format, but adding on so much to it, it doesn't seem like it's repetitive.
yeah, I got
So stuff like doesn't bother me as much in films like Onward and some other animated films and certain things like that. But other than that, there ain't much really explanation going to see into this film. But I will say it is definitely worth the watch for kids, especially a great family movie. But really let your kids see this because the messages and explain to them if they don't get it. There's a lot to them. More about the movie and explain it to them if they don't get it. But with that being said, I love this movie. I will say that, I mean, unfair for the short year we're going to have in movies this year because there ain't fucking nothing coming out this year due to the virus. Uh, this is in my top 10 right now currently. And with that being said, I'm going to give this film a phenomenal grade and Film Freaks meter.
Same here, man. I'm giving the movie a phenomenal grade on the Film Freaks meter as well. It's really. I wanted to point this out earlier. It's really refreshing to see a good kids movie with Tom Holland and Octavia Spencer voicing characters in a film after we watched the pitiful Doctor Doolittle or the Doolittle reboot not too long ago. So it's kind of a weird double feature, but it kind of goes from you go from bad and then you redeem
Yeah.
yourself.
The last movie him and I reviewed was one of the worst Disney-ish level type movies that made by Disney. Still on that kind of par. And it starred Octavia Spencer and Tom Holland. And it starred a lead role by an MCU character, Iron Man. So this one, again, Tom Holland and Octavia Spencer, and we have a side co-star lead role with Chris Pratt, Starlord.
Yeah,
So it's
so
kind of like and it's kind of hard to ignore. So it was pretty neat.
yeah. So fair enough. For those of you who have also seen Onward, let us know in the comments below what you thought about it. And we like what you see here. You can feel free to like, subscribe to our channel, check out some other reviews here and our website at filmfreaks.com. We'll be seeing you in our next review. Stay safe, and we'll see y'all later.
Later.